Iron. Iron is the mineral that helps carry oxygen through your body, so in a very real way, every breath depends on it. It sits inside hemoglobin, the protein in red blood cells that picks up oxygen in the lungs and delivers it to tissues that need it most. That is what makes iron so important. Without enough of it, the body may still be breathing, but it starts to feel like it is running on low air. People often notice fatigue first, then come weakness, dizziness, feeling cold more easily, poor focus, and a strange sense that even simple tasks take more effort than they should. Iron deficiency is also one of the most common mineral deficiencies in the world, especially among women, which is why it affects so many lives quietly. One useful detail is that not all iron is absorbed the same way. Iron from meat is generally easier for the body to take in than iron from plant foods, which is why two meals with similar iron numbers may not have the same effect. Even so, both forms can matter in a balanced diet. Good sources include red meat, liver, beans, lentils, leafy greens, and iron-fortified cereals. Calcium. Calcium is the mineral most people connect with bones and teeth, and for good reason. About 99% of the body's calcium is stored there, helping build the hard structure that keeps the skeleton strong over a lifetime. But the rest is just as important in a different way. Small amounts of calcium in the blood and tissues help muscles contract, help the heart keep beating, and help nerves send signals from one place to another. That means calcium is not only about structure, it is also about movement, rhythm, and control. When the body is not getting enough calcium from food, it does not simply give up on those vital jobs. Instead, it starts pulling calcium out of bones to keep the heart and nervous system working properly. That short-term rescue can become a long-term problem. Over time, bones can grow weaker, more fragile, and more likely to break. There is also a common misunderstanding here. Calcium does not work efficiently on its own if vitamin D is too low, because vitamin D helps the body absorb and use it properly. Good food sources include milk, cheese, yogurt, fortified plant milks, almonds, and leafy green vegetables. Magnesium. Magnesium is one of those minerals that works quietly in the background, but the body depends on it far more than most people realize. It takes part in hundreds of enzyme reactions, which means it helps keep many basic processes running from moment to moment. Muscles need it, nerves need it, energy production depends on it. Even a steady heartbeat is partly tied to its presence. That is what makes magnesium feel less like a single-purpose nutrient and more like a hidden support system. When levels run low, the signs can be easy to dismiss at first. Muscle cramps may show up more often. Sleep may become lighter or more difficult. Stress can feel sharper. Fatigue can linger, and in more serious cases, the heart's rhythm can be affected as well. One reason magnesium is worth talking about now is that many modern diets make it easier to miss. Highly processed foods often contain less of it, and poorer soil quality can also reduce how much ends up in what people eat. Magnesium also works closely with calcium and potassium, helping muscles contract and relax in a balanced way instead of staying tense. Good sources include nuts, whole grains, leafy greens, and dark chocolate. Potassium. Potassium helps manage fluid balance, nerve signals, and muscle movement, which makes it one of the body's quiet electrical regulators. It works closely with sodium in a kind of push and pull system that helps control heartbeat, blood pressure, and the way muscles contract. That partnership is what makes potassium so important. It helps keep signals moving cleanly instead of letting the system drift out of balance. When potassium runs low, the body often shows it through weakness, tiredness, muscle cramps, or a heartbeat that feels irregular. In that sense, potassium is a bit like the body's electrician, helping messages travel without short-circuiting. What makes this especially relevant today is that many people eat a lot of salty, processed food while still falling short on potassium without realizing it. They may be getting plenty of sodium, but not enough of the mineral that is supposed to help balance it. Good food sources include bananas, potatoes, oranges, tomatoes, beans, and leafy green vegetables. Sodium. Sodium is often treated like the villain of the modern diet, but the truth is more balanced than that. Sodium is an essential mineral, and life depends on it. It helps nerves send signals, helps control fluid balance, supports muscle movement, and plays a role in keeping blood pressure stable. So the real issue is not that sodium exists in the diet. The problem is that modern diets often deliver far more of it than the body needs. When sodium levels are too high over time, the body tends to hold on to more water, which can raise blood pressure and put extra strain on the heart and blood vessels. But sodium can also become too low, and that brings a different kind of trouble. People may feel dizzy, weak, confused, or notice muscle twitching and cramping. In more serious cases, symptoms can become much more dangerous. So the goal is not to eliminate sodium completely. The goal is to get the right amount, and ideally from better quality foods rather than a constant stream of heavily processed meals. Zinc. Zinc is the mineral the body leans on for repair, recovery, and protection. It helps wounds heal, supports the immune system, assists with cell repair, and even plays a role in taste and smell. That makes zinc feel less like a spotlight nutrient and more like a maintenance crew working all through the body. When zinc intake is too low, healing can slow down, hair may begin to thin, illness can become more common, and food may not taste or smell quite the same. In children, a long-term lack of zinc can also affect healthy growth, which shows how deeply it is tied to development. One surprising thing about zinc is that the body does not store it very well, so it needs to be replaced regularly through food. That means a low intake can catch up with someone more easily than they expect. Good sources include meat, shellfish, beans, seeds, nuts, and whole grains. Iodine. Iodine is the mineral that gives the thyroid gland what it needs to do its job. That gland, sitting quietly in the neck, helps control metabolism, energy use, body temperature, and normal growth. So even though the body only needs a very small amount of iodine, its influence reaches almost everywhere. When iodine intake drops too low, the whole system can begin to slow down. People may feel tired for no clear reason, gain weight more easily, feel puffy in the face, struggle with the cold, or notice a kind of mental fog that makes thinking feel heavier than usual. In more serious cases, the thyroid can enlarge as it tries harder to capture what little iodine is available, leading to a visible swelling known as a goiter. That is what makes iodine so important. It is needed in tiny amounts, yet a shortage can throw off the rhythm of the whole body. Many people also forget that iodine deficiency used to be far more common before iodized salt became widespread. Good sources include iodized salt, seaweed, fish, dairy products, and eggs. Phosphorus. Phosphorus is a mineral people do not talk about very often, but the body uses it constantly. It helps build strong bones and teeth, working closely with calcium to create the structure that gives the skeleton its strength. But phosphorus does more than support hard tissue. Every cell in the body depends on it to help create, store, and use energy, which means this mineral is tied directly to the most basic work of staying alive. That is what makes phosphorus more important than many people realize. When levels are too low, the effects can show up as muscle weakness, bone discomfort, or a deep kind of fatigue that feels hard to shake. True deficiency is not very common, but phosphorus has its own modern problem. Highly processed foods and soft drinks can sometimes push intake too high, and too much phosphorus can disturb calcium balance over time, which may gradually weaken bones instead of helping them. So with phosphorus, the story is not only about getting enough, it is also about not letting balance slip too far the other way. Good sources include meat, dairy, nuts, beans, and whole grains. Selenium. Selenium can be thought of as part of the body's anti-rust system. It helps protect cells from oxidative stress, the kind of wear and damage that builds up when unstable molecules start harming tissues from the inside. That alone would make selenium important. But it also supports the thyroid and helps the immune system function properly. In other words, it protects, supports, and steadies some of the body's most sensitive systems. When selenium is too low, people may feel tired, mentally dull, or more run down than usual. Immunity may weaken, and in more serious cases, the deficiency can begin to affect the thyroid or even the heart. One of the most interesting things about selenium is that balance matters more than people expect. It is essential, but too much can also be harmful, which makes it very different from the idea that more is always better. There is also a small detail that surprises many people. Just one Brazil nut can provide a large share of the day's selenium needs. Other useful sources include fish, eggs, whole grains, and meat. I hope this video made things a little clearer. If it did, a like and subscribe would genuinely mean a lot, and it helps more of these videos find the people who need them.